What is up, folks? Joel of All Vapes coming at you again. If this is your first time watching, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, where I'm going to be showing you some of the latest and greatest in mods, RDAs, RDTAs, devices, and e-juice on the vaping market. Today we're going to be talking about the Augvape RDTA and Squonker box mod. Now, Augvape was awesome enough to send me this little box mod all the way from Germany just for this review. It's going to be a raw review, which means we're going to be breaking it down to you bit by bit. First time for both you and me. I've actually never tried Squonks before. As you can see, this one is fairly small, very ergonomic, and, well, you know what? We're just going to get down into the nitty-gritty of this. We're going to bring the camera below, and we can take an in-depth view into this Augvape 22mm RDA and Squonk box by Augvape Official. Okay, so this is the Druga Squonker by Augvape, Augvape Official. You see there's a social media insignia going on the bottom of the little sleeve. So like I said, this is the first time that I've ever actually used any type of Squonk device before, and I'm super impressed so far just by the overall simplicity of the internal structure and really just everything in a whole of just, what a Squonker actually is. So basically, this is just a plastic composite material. It has sort of a flat black satiny finish to it, very soft to the touch. As you can see, it's fairly small, incredibly ergonomic, fits just in the palm of your hand. Perfect little fire button. This is made out of a Delrin composite material, so it's pretty soft to the touch, and a flush mounted 510 connection. And we can kind of take a little bit of a gander as to what's on the inside here. So you're going to get a little Allen wrench, comes with that. Now that I'll stick aside and I'll explain to you what that's for a little bit later. As you can see, it's a pretty simple internal structure. We're going to take out our little swag bag and stick that aside. Single 18650, and I believe this is a silicone bottle. Or just take off the top cap right here to the little Squonk bottle, and this is a 5 milliliter capacity Squonk bottle. So the juice just gets filled directly in this little bottle right here, and we're actually going to fill this up. So you can definitely do this with a dropper bottle, but I advise that it's a little bit easier to do when you're using a unicorn bottle of some type. Go ahead and screw the cap back on, and we're going to stick this aside for the time being and just take an overall look at the internal structure here. So as you can see, you've got this large nut that screws right onto the bottom of the 510 connector and right over the top of where the Squonk bottle is going to go. So what I do is I screw this pretty much finger tight all the way to the top. And as you can see, there's still going to be some play in this, but the flat side here is basically what's the most important. You want to make sure that that comes in contact with the switch plate right here from the fire button. Basically, you want to make sure that the flat portion of the nut, as shown right here, is not facing you. If it's facing you, that means that the smaller, skinnier diameter portion of the nut, like right here, is going to be interfacing with the switch plate from the fire button. You want to make sure that the smaller diameter is facing you. That way, as you can see, the flat portion of the nut is actually interfacing with the switch plate, which allows for a greater conductivity when you're hitting the fire button. Okay, so yeah, it is going to jostle around a little bit because it looks like this doesn't tighten completely. To be honest with you, I don't know if it's supposed to. To be honest with you, I really don't think it's going to cause that much issue, because once the faceplate gets put back on, it may help it just kind of keep everything in place. The Druga RDA. Okay, so this was made by Augvape Official. It was actually designed by Vapehouse. So that's pretty par for the course for a lot of companies do a lot of collaborative projects like this. And this is a pretty solid looking RDA, 22 millimeters in diameter. Now, the one thing that really fascinates me about a lot of Squonk boxes, especially the RDAs that come with the Squonk boxes, is just the overall design structure of how these things are made. So the cool thing about these is that you can use this as a Squonk RDA. See the little hole right on the bottom of where the connection point goes. That's so obviously the e-liquid can go through the center of that and saturate your cotton. You also get with the Druga Squonk box a little swag bag that comes with a one-sided Delrin stopper right here. So you can take this out and basically just absorb one side of the RDA just in case you want to use a single coil. But it also comes with an extra screw which takes the place of the bottom juice flow screw for the RDA, which basically turns this directly into just a straight dripper RDA in the event that you actually want to use your Squonk box as just a common mech mod, which I think is a really cool little aspect because it gives you the opportunity to use this as just a straight RDA, obviously without the convenience of having to use this as a squonker. So this little squonker screw comes off with this little Allen screw wrench. So there's the bottom contraption, there's the juice flow hole right there. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and put that back on. And for the time being, we're going to leave that on right now. Okay, so let's take a look at the RDA posts. So pretty simple design, and it's actually got a fairly deep and decent juice well. I like the fact that it doesn't really have to get a whole heck of a lot more in depth than unscrewing and raising up the post screws. As you can see, the post holes are actually pretty decently sized. So you're getting obviously a decent amount of space in there to be able to put a variety of coil builds in there. Now, I'm not actually going to build any coils. I've got some pre-built coils that I like to install in all of my RDAs and whatnot. So I've got a couple of alien coils by a close friend of mine that actually makes these for me. And we're just going to take these bad boys and shove them right through the post holes. Now the good thing is these screw tops for the posts have Phillips head slots, which means that I can tighten these up, shape these just a little bit, okay, so overall I really like the design of the post and build deck. Let's put that aside and actually look at the rest of the Druga RDA. So Delrin drip tip, which I really dig because that wicks away a lot of the heat when it comes to the heavier draws. Everything is held together with some black rubber O-rings, and it looks like we have 3 different airflow chambers on the inner sleeve and 2 on the outer, so we can definitely adjust for 1 to 2 larger bottom airflows just in the event that we want to get that extra amount of intake. So far, the only thing that I'm seeing is that the outer and the inner sleeve are really super thin material. It's relatively simple to adjust the airflow, as you can see. And we have both airflow open on both sides now. So we're just going to kind of leave it that way. We're going to stick that aside for now. And now what I'm going to do is insert one of my 18650s. And so far the overall feel of that is fairly snug. I mean, it went in really super simple. There's not a whole heck of a lot of space to kind of barely get my finger in there, so it looks like I'm definitely going to have to tank off the Squonk bottle in order to get the 18650 out, because there's really, I mean, I'm just basically spinning the battery at this point. There's no convenient way of getting it in. The heft with this already is fairly decent, starting to feel like a real mod now. Okay, so that's actually really beautiful. That's a perfect fire pattern. Center out, that's just what we want to see. So far the conductivity looks perfect. So we're going to delve into the little swag bag here and take out the little Delrin side stopper, whatever it is that you want to call this, and just position it on the open end. So that takes up the portion of where your second coil would end up going. Okay, I'm going to take my little Squonk bottle here that we filled up and position it right on the bottom Okay, now for those of you, once again, that have never seen a Squonk box in action, this is actually pretty standard how the top portion of the little rubber tube is actually kind of cocked over to the side. You only have so much space in which to make everything kind of activated here. But that little rubber tube goes all the way to the bottom of the Squonk bottle, if you can see it in there, and that is basically what's going to elevate the juice all the way to the top. So we give it a little squeeze, and if you can actually see through the top, there goes the juice. Now what I like to do at this point, whenever I put a little bit of juice on every coil, is just kind of hit the fire button a little bit, just to kind of melt the juice in. Helps it kind of set and prime. And I always like to position the air holes, the lower air intake valves, right over the cotton on both sides. Just kind of gives it a really good air intake flow. Where the faceplate was over the RDA portion here, this actually goes over the portion where the bottle goes. So when you're holding on to it, you can stick your finger through there and just give it a little bit of a squeeze. Okay, so let's take this up top and give it a shot. Boom. Okay, so built and set. The one thing that I want to point out is that I did definitely put in the side insert there, the Delrin side insert, because we're only working on one coil. So I'm going to make sure that we have this nice and primed with enough juice to fill up the cotton there. Okay, so on first inhale, though, number one thing that I'm starting to sense is that it's really relatively low on the heat as far as the vapor intake is concerned. Now, I don't have both air intake valves open all the way. I've only got them open about 50% of the way on both sides. And I think that the insert for the other side of the RDA really has a lot to do with keeping the capacity of the open area in the RDA fairly confined, which I think is going to heat up the vapor just a little bit more and hopefully increase the flavor output as far as the vape is concerned. The one thing that I do want to make sure is that even though the overall design of the Squonk box is fairly sound, I want to make sure that the cotton gets a really, really good wicking of the juice, regardless of how simple everything really is. So far, just with one alien coil, I'm getting a really, really good amount of vapor production from this. Now, luckily with the Delrin drip tip, like I said, it does wick away a lot of the heat that could be produced by this. But with a single 18650 working, I don't think I have to worry too much about overheating anything. The flavor production coming from a single 18650 and single coil is really actually not all that bad. Definitely talk about the convenience of what a good Squonk box is going to offer us. First of all, a 5 milliliter capacity once again in the little silicone bottle in there. That makes it really, really super convenient. Most of the old school bottles back in the day, you'd get in 10 and 15 milliliters as is. So fairly ergodynamic. Like I said, it just fits right in the palm of your hand, and it just feels really smooth and really good to handle. It's got that nice flat surface, like I was saying. Almost looks like it's been bead blasted, like if it was bead blasted metal. It has that nice flat, smooth quality to it, and it just really feels good. It looks decent. The 22 millimeter diameter Druga RDA is a perfect size in my opinion. In spite of the thin outer and inner walls of the sleeves, I really think this is a sturdy device. Overall, the wide opening depth and the internal diameter of the drip tip allows for good quality drippage, just in the case you do want to turn this into a direct feed RDA and basically disable the Squonk ability of this box. Though I can't imagine why you'd want to do that if everything is working accordingly. So far, if Augvape's Druga Squonk box here is indicative of most Squonk mech mods out on the market, I can definitely give this a 2 thumbs up. I love the Druga insignia on the faceplate as well as the telltale Augvape on the side of the box itself. Much of a smoother draw as I go along. The flavor is top notch, and I'm finding that I'm not really having to pump it all that much. I may just be doing it because it's something brand new. Now what I'm going to do is put all the information in the comment section below, as well as some links on where you can go and purchase and check out all the information yourself. And you know, for a retail price of anywhere between about 30 to 50 bucks, depending on where you go, I think this is a really good investment for your vape cash. So personally, I want to say to Augvape and Paul of Augvape, thank you very much for sending me this awesome little Druga Squonk box mech mod with the 22 millimeter Druga RDA conversion. Really think this is an awesome little mod. Perfect for anybody that wants to step up their game just a little bit into a different kind of design structure for your vaping pleasure. If any of you guys out there found this review informative, definitely please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Throw me a message here on YouTube or toss me a DM on Instagram at Joe of All Vapes. I've got some brand new reviews coming up here pretty soon on brand new mods that haven't even hit the US market yet, as well as a slew of tasty, awesome e-juice coming up here pretty soon. That's all here, right smack dab on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. This is Joe of All Vapes, your eye in that vaping sky, wishing you to stay humble. You love yourselves, love each other, and never forget, guys, pinky out. Always pinky out. Hey everybody, this is Joe of All Vapes. Thank you for watching. For the best in vape reviews, pound that subscribe button, and don't forget, vaping saves lives.